PBS Hawaiʻi Classics is sponsored by the Olson Trust.
Ai ke haala puna I ka makani. E haa. E haala puna I ka makani la. Mahaka haula I ke ai. Hahaina me hoko e haatamani e. Ami I kai o nanahi e. Hale avale e kai o nanaki e o puna kai tua I ka hula pai pahe kale o ke kai hula I nā pule ua nāna I kai o hopo e ka wahi e ami kai o nana huki e Hale avale I kai o nana huki e Hale avale I kai o nana huki
Aloha! Kealohilani and Spectrum welcome you back. On our show today, we will journey to the island of my birth, the Big Island, where the fires of Pele still burn bright at Kīlauea. On Hawaii, we will pay a visit to Hawaii Volcano's National Park and find a host of cultural activities flourishing at the Volcano Art Center, where a vigorous group of creative artists have gathered together to build their studios and to call the dense forests of Kīlauea their home. We'll visit these studios and homes today, but first, let's approach the Volcano Art Center through the steaming fields of mystery. Long before the history of Hawaii was written, the old people came here to Kīlauea. In the shadow of the mountain Mauna Loa, they found the great rainforest and Madame Pele's steaming lava. Stories of the fiery goddess and her gentle sister Hi'iaka are told in chants and in the ancient hulas. In 1823, missionary William Ellis was the first Westerner to see the volcano. After that, adventurers from all over the world traveled to witness the drama of this sometimes molten landscape. The steaming bluffs, the forest, and the blazing pits inspired the earlier artists who braved the long trek up the mountain. A new generation of creative artists has now come to Kīlauea, where they have established their studios. In 1974, the Volcano Art Center was born, where travelers of old once stayed, the historic 1877 Volcano House. In partnership with the National Park Service, the Art Center offers a special and rewarding moment for the visitor. Works in a wide variety of media reflect the artist's experience in contact with the primal forces of this vital environment. The main gallery of the Art Center welcomes the weary traveler, as it has for more than 100 years. Marsha Morrison is the executive director of the Volcano Art Center and will be the hostess of our visit. She oversees the staff of the center, where the work of almost 200 artists and craftspeople from all over Hawaii is exhibited, providing visitors with a unique vision of this place and its cultures, the only effort of its kind in any wilderness national park. Here we witness the rendering of forces that transform landscapes and people. Here we may hope that anyone who ventures through these galleries and programs feels a moment of renewal, a recreated sense of place and self. Many hands together make for light work. Since the beginning, volunteers have provided substantial support. Announcements, posters, and a tabloid newspaper, the Volcano Gazette, help the Art Center keep in touch with friends all over the state and the world. A busy program schedule offers visitors, students, professional artists, and the community at large a wide variety of ethnic events, concerts and plays, workshops, seminars, and extended retreats touching all areas of the arts. Studio classes are held at the old Japanese schoolhouse in Volcano Village. Here there is a dance studio, a ceramic lab, a community darkroom, and a few modest spaces that are used for everything else. While art is the center's mainstay, it in turn suggests other work to be done. Thousands of t-shirts have been screened in this room, as well as other artifacts which serve to commemorate programs as varied as a recent marathon run or the annual Volcano Dance Retreat. Leaving the Volcano Art Center, we turn to Puna, where Marsha Morrison will lead us to Jack Straker, the master wood turner, whose delicate core bowls are widely sought. Jack Straker possesses a renowned style of craftsmanship, lending to each bowl thin walls of fragile elegance.
There's basically, I guess, you can classify it as two different types of turning. And one of them is the scraping method, which is probably the easiest thing to learn. And you're using either a pointed or a rounded tool, and you're actually scraping the wood off. Now,
So you abrade the wood, in a sense?
Most of the time, particularly on the end grain. Now, if you use like a high-speed steel bar, that gives you a better finish than just a regular steel that they use on that type of turning tools. But then the other type is the bowl gouges.
And that's what you do?
That's what I'm doing now. And it gives you a much better cut, less abrasion, and I think as a result, you have to do less sanding in the long run. Well, I've always been interested in the wood turning, but never able to do it, I guess, the right way or productively until I found an advertisement in Popular Mechanics, I guess, or Popular Science on somebody instructing wood turning. Now, this was back in maybe the early 70s.
Mm-hmm. You weren't in Hawaii yet then?
No. And I picked up this information from the magazine, and the guy was in England that was advertising wood turning instructions. Now, at that time, I didn't find anybody doing it on the mainland and advertising it anyway.
So did you actually go to England?
Yes. Believe it or not, 3 days.
3 days? And that affected all your wood turning?
Yeah, it's basically learning to use the bowl gouges and the bowl turning tools, plus also the between centers turning for the rolling pins. But once you learn the technique, and then after that, it's all a matter of practice.
A lot of people really prize your traditional Hawaiian umeke-shaped bowls.
The shapes I came across in, let's see, where was it? The Lyman Museum, okay, carries some bowls in the display area.
When you start to turn a bowl, do you know what shape it's going to be?
And as far as the design, the particular shapes go, a lot of it I repeat, not necessarily at one right after another kind of thing. I may forget some shapes and then pick it up later on. But I think a lot of the shapes are dictated by maybe defects in the wood, or the wood that I'm turning.
So you don't necessarily just throw a piece out that's got a few defects?
No, I guess it depends on the wood. If it's worthwhile doing, then I'll do patchwork on it. There are Hawaiian names for each style of patch that's used, and I don't even try and remember them because I sort of do that every once in a while type of patchwork.
But you do them?
Yes. yeah, and that was again information I've got from Peter Buck's book.
Oh, Jack, you caught me coveting your bowls. I wish I could take a few of these home. They're getting harder and harder to get, aren't they?
I think the demand for local woods in particular, and a lot of the Hawaiian shapes are going very well for both local people and the tourist trade.
This is a Hawaiian shape then.
That's a Hawaiian shape, and you might be interested in a Hawaiian patchwork in a koa bowl, which this particular wood is pretty hard to come by now, and especially in larger sizes. It's amazing to me, I think anybody else that would lift up a bowl, even have one in your hand, which I had an opportunity to do at the Bishop Museum, and look at the symmetry of that bowl or bowls and visualize somebody, if you want to call it Stone Age type of work, achieve that kind of symmetry and smooth finish and thickness to their types of pieces.
As the work of Jack Straker draws inspiration from the works of the old craftsmen, other artists also look to the ways of old Hawaii. Linda and Dietrich Perez have devoted their talents as artists to the cause of depicting the old Hawaii.
Hui, Dietrich!
They have also chosen to establish their homestead deep in the ohia forests of the volcano region.
So where's Linda? Hi, Linda. How's it?
Marcia.
All right.
Some tea.
Oh, all right. So how have you guys been?
Oh, fine. Linda's fine.
Has the volcanic haze affected
Oh,
the garden at all?
plenty. Yes, my towers went underground.
So we've missed seeing your paintings up at the art center for a while. You've been secreting them or something.
Are you interested in seeing something I'm working on?
Sure, we can. Where's your latest one?
It's upstairs.
So Linda, show me what you've been up to.
Oh, okay. Well, here it is.
All right. Oh, great. What's she picking, Miley?
Picking Miley, picking ohia lehua.
All right. This looks like that new plant that you showed me, the pua
Puhanui.
hanui. All right.
Oh, you don't mind if I work, yeah?
Oh no, go for
Okay.
it. Go for it. I'll just sit over here. You're depicting parts of the forest that, I never even knew about when I lived on Oahu.
Well, we only learned this part of the forest by living here. And going through the forest, we learned to appreciate these things. And our son Dietrich, having grown up here without any other children to play with, but just the forest and the animals, feels very related to the forest. And he brings that consciousness to us heavier all the time.
Where do you get your inspiration?
Well, it's the quiet life out here. In the morning, we get up with the sun, and we walk out and we feed the geese and walk around the yard, feed the fish,
Survey your...
fool around with these plants or that plants, and take a walk in the forest, collect some models. But usually how I start working is I'll focus on some plant or another and think, well, I've never painted that before, and I'll collect some of that plant and think about do some research how that might be used if I don't know, and gradually build up an awareness. And then Dietrich will get out his Polaroid camera and I'll model for this. And then I'll try applying it to the canvas and see how it goes in some neutral color. And when I get something that's believable, then I'll go on working. And I'll continue working on one of these paintings for maybe a month, sometimes a little less. I work on one image for a long time because I don't come to the kind of conclusions that, it's an exploration. And you just can't do it that fast. Because every painting I do is new for me. We try to live out the things that we're working on. In other words, if I'm going to work on a painting of planting kalo, say, well, I'll plant kalo and I'll make the mound and go through the whole act. We'll eat the kalo.
All this before you...
That's all part of the painting. Grow a live model.
So there's much more than picking up a paintbrush involved in your
It's not like that at all. Yeah, if I were living in some urban area, that may be how I would approach it, but here it's an integral part of my whole existence.
Sometimes I see a real expression of relationship in your paintings, between a young man and old man, or between...
I try to bring out family relationships because that is the important thing. And we try, well, it's like spending your free time. Do you wish to spend your free time driving around Hilo in the smog, or do you wish to spend your free time dreaming about ancient Hawaii?
Okay.
Self-reliance is the important thing about all of our cultures before we get too civilized.
Now you and Dietrich built this house single-handedly pretty much, didn't
That's
you?
right, yeah. We carried everything. Dietrich hand-sawed everything, hand-hammered everything. And
Did Dietrich Jr. get involved in helping at all?
everybody carry. Since we live here, we live in this forest, we focus on the forest and its gifts, and it just comes naturally that you live the whole life. Myself, the end of the world is at the end of that driveway. When I hit the telephone poles, that's their world. I hope they like it.
So who is your art for, anyway?
Well, Marsha, I like to think it's for everyone, but and sometimes I feel that way when I'm busy. But because I don't follow all of the traditions that printmakers are supposed to follow.
Like what traditions are you speaking of?
Say numbering the prints, limited editions, and
Destroying the blocks.
Destroying the block.
Yeah.
See, I feel that the block is a tool to make the impression, so I don't think I should destroy it. It would be, well, Hawaiians would think of destroying such a tool as almost sacrilegious, and I just as soon not do that. Besides, the blocks make so many friends for me. Again, back to the question, why, who do I think it's for? I'd like for everyone to have them, and I price them accordingly and to make them available to people. And it has worked for me so far. I am now in a position where actually I'm kind of up against the kind of wall, and that I have so many designs that so many people want that I'm kept busy all the time printing those and don't have much room for new designs, although this year I got in a few.
Oh, I think it must have been one of your most prolific years. You told me that since March you've carved almost 40 new prints.
Yeah.
Now those are not yet in wide distribution, are they?
No, they're for 2 books I'm illustrating. This would be the first time I've done anything like this, and I find it quite pleasing to do book illustrations. You're left alone to read the manuscript and produce the image, and I like that. I like that.
So you don't find living in the forest isolating for you creatively? You don't feel isolated from
No,
other creative
I think
people?
it's an advantage. The isolation is, I think, is helping me a lot, because I think I would tend to get influenced, and I like to stay away from that. So the isolation gives me the space to look into myself and see what I want to do, you know, what images I want to come out with. And also the forest, being surrounded by the forest like this. I mean, what more could anybody ask for? You know?
You've chosen to live out here in relative isolation, almost complete isolation. Do you ever miss the interaction with other people? Or
The interaction, I've recently discovered that a very necessary element to my artistic inspiration are the plants around me, the forest, the soil. So when I get too hung up with the business world, with filling gallery orders and this stuff, I sometimes have to just drop everything and go out into the yard and pull weeds or split some wood or something. I was thinking the other day that if I ever made a church, the sacraments would be to have to bury your hands in dirt 5 minutes each day. Because I think there's no substitute for that kind of contact. It puts you back on the keel, you know, you're bearing again.
how do you feel as a haole, a Caucasian artist depicting Hawaiian subjects?
Well, that's I like to approach that from two ways. One is I don't really consider myself too much haole anymore. Having been here this long, I think I don't know what I am besides a Hawaiian at heart, at least, anyway. And I do feel that I've chosen the Hawaiian culture to support and portray. I think that I've never found the Hawaiian people against this or anything. I get more slaps on the back from them than from anyone else. I think we should get more haules involved in preserving Hawaiian culture. There's lots of things to do here. Many, there's an endless supply of artistic inspiration. I mean, there's no limit to the work. I'm just fortunate to have found this place.
Another artist finds his source in the fires of the earth. Chu Leong works in clay, simple, direct forms that bespeak his relationship with life. His home and studio are as much an art as are his ceramics.
Well, being an artist is a lifetime commitment where that is your primarily vision. I mean, that's what you do.
And
So-
it's not just a matter of making pots either,
Oh no.
or
no.
paintings or quilts.
I'm making pots and paintings. It's just part of one's life. You know, because of our whole civilization is happening, the role of an artist is even more necessary during these times to bring a balance to it. And I feel it is my role somewhat to reflect this place that I live. It's such a, you know, it's just a very simple, basic place that that I've gone so far away from in my early lives because I was raised in the cities. So I came to a place like this. It's always been a dream of mine when I was living in the city to live and work in this type of environment. Because I feel there's a lot of inspiration here to call from to do one's work. It is the only place I see myself really working all the time. And this is my home and my studio and a dream that I've come here to. And to really find this place within my being, to take the quality of this place and to transfer it into work. But the role I feel of a potter, artist, craftsman, you know, is to bring beauty to this life and to things that are made by machine. They lack a little life, and food tastes better from something that's handmade, and it looks better too. Well, in the past I've done so many glaze experiments that I can work with the glaze and the fire to know how somewhat it's going to come out. Or else one can work with it and have it come out almost precisely to what one has in mind. But that's not quite what I'm interested in. I'm interested in how the fire decorates the pot. And I will just provide the space and provide a situation where that will be possible. The chemistry and of the clay and of the glazes with some control of the temperature increase in the atmosphere in the kiln to work with the fire, and the piece is created from it. So I do work with the uncertainties of the fire, and that's what I really enjoy. So certain pots have its own karma. Some are just meant to make it. That's the way it is. And I'm just in the middle of it, making it. I'm a worker. The pot has its own life.
The Volcano Art Center is a Hawaiian resource, one to be visited, savored, and preserved. It has provided and will continue to provide a message from our big island in all its thunder and light. In the end, he who commits to fire and forest finds the fire and forest within. The winds buffet and guide, the earthquakes nudge, and finally the artist himself is shaped, like the pots and paintings he crafts, by the environment he chooses to work in.
No hi'i aka I ka poli o pele.